2 years after the liberation of Kalara Prime, Admiral Daeho Kim stood on the observation deck of the space station orbiting the restored Kalari homeworld. Through the transparent metal, he could see the planet's surface beginning to heal. The terrible scars of Vorthak bombardment were slowly being covered by new growth, tended by Kalari survivors with the help of human agricultural specialists. The confrontation with War Master Zekthul had ended not with destruction, but with something unprecedented in galactic history: the surrender of a Vorthak fleet. Faced with an enemy that would die to protect innocence, Zekthul had found himself unable to complete his genocide. His own officers, seeing the humans' willingness to sacrifice themselves, had begun to question orders for the first time in their lives. Admiral Kim to the communications center, came the announcement over the station's speakers. Priority message from Earth. Kim made his way through corridors filled with both human and Kalari personnel working side by side. The Kalari moved differently now, their bioluminescent patterns brighter, their crystal-like features no longer cracked with despair. They were learning to hope again. In the communications center, he found Communications Officer Ji-Woo Park, now promoted to commander, working alongside a young Kalari named Silthara. The alien skin pattern shifted in greeting when she saw Kim approach. "Admiral," Ji-Woo said, "we have reports from Admiral Chan-Woo Eam's fleet. The last Vorthak processing facility in Sector 7 has been liberated. The pacification campaign is complete." Kim nodded grimly. The pacification campaign was humanity's systematic dismantling of every Vorthak military installation capable of enslaving other species. It had taken 2 years and cost many human lives, but the Vorthak Empire's ability to wage war of conquest had been permanently broken. "What about the Vorthak themselves?" Kim asked. "Fleet Admiral Junseo An reports that the Vorthak Council has agreed to all terms of the surrender treaty," Ji-Woo replied. "They will return all enslaved populations, submit to monitoring by the Human Protection Fleet, and restructure their society under galactic oversight." It was almost impossible to believe. The empire that had terrorized this sector of space for 2 millennia had been brought to heel by a species they had never heard of 3 years ago. "There's more, sir," Silthara said in her musical voice. "The Kalari Council has completed their analysis of human motivations. The results are unprecedented." Kim raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" Dr. Rian Ku, the human psychologist who had been working with Kalari researchers, entered the room carrying a datapad. "Admiral, we've been studying what the Kalari call the genocide test, the moment when a civilization encounters systematic extermination of another species and must choose whether to intervene. And? In the past 1,000 years, 47 species have encountered this test. 46 chose to prioritize their own safety over justice. Humanity is the first known species to consistently choose intervention despite enormous personal cost." Kim felt uncomfortable with the praise. "We did what had to be done." "That's exactly the point," Dr. Ku continued. "For humans, protecting the innocent isn't a choice, it's an instinct. The Kalari researchers believe this trait is what will make humanity a stabilizing force in galactic politics." A new voice joined the conversation. "They are correct." Everyone turned to see Elder Nalthara, daughter of the Velthara who had first called for help, entering the communication center. The elderly Kalari moved slowly but with dignity, her crystalline features bearing the wisdom of someone who had lived through the worst catastrophe in her species' history. "Elder Nalthara," Kim said respectfully, "we weren't expecting you." "I wanted to personally deliver news from the Kalari Medical Council," she replied. "Our gift to humanity is ready." Kim frowned. "Gift? You saved our people when you had no obligation to do so. You suffered losses and asked for nothing in return. But we cannot let such sacrifice go unrewarded." Her bioluminescent patterns shifted to what Kim had learned was the Kalari expression of deep gratitude. "The healing knowledge that the Vorthak tried to steal from us, we offer it freely to humanity. Your scientists will now have access to medical technology that can extend human lifespan by centuries and eliminate most genetic diseases." Kim started to protest. "Elder, we didn't come for rewards. We know Nalthara interrupted gently. That is why you deserve them. Communications Officer Yejin Bu entered the center slightly out of breath. Admiral, urgent message from Earth. You need to hear this. The main screen lit up with the image of President Kyung-Soo Jang, speaking from the United Earth Council chambers. Citizens of Earth and all human colonies, the president began, today marks the 2nd anniversary of the liberation of Kalara Prime. But we are not here merely to celebrate our victory over the Vorthak Empire. The image changed to show dozens of alien species, beings of every imaginable shape and form. Representatives from 63 alien civilizations have arrived on Earth to sign the Galactic Protection Accord. This treaty establishes humanity as the primary peacekeeping force for this sector of space, with a mandate to prevent genocide and protect developing species from conquest. Kim felt his heart skip. 63 species? President Zhang continued. The human protection fleet will be expanded to 5,000 vessels, with bases throughout known space. Our mission will be simple: ensure that no species suffers alone, and that the strong protect the weak, regardless of politics or profit. The side transmission ended, leaving the communications center in stunned silence. 5,000 ships? Jiwoo whispered. Elder Nalthara's bioluminescent pattern shifted to what Kim recognized as amusement. Admiral, your species has changed the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. For the first time in recorded history, morality has become more important than military might. Over the following days, Kim received reports from across human space. The news of the Galactic Protection Accord had been met with overwhelming approval. Recruitment centers were flooded with volunteers. Every human colony was contributing resources and personnel to the expanded fleet. But more importantly, the galaxy itself was changing. Species that had hidden in fear of the Vorthak were emerging to share technology and knowledge. Trade routes that had been abandoned due to piracy were reopening under human protection. Scientists from dozens of worlds were collaborating on projects that would have been impossible under the old system of fear and isolation. Dr. Mi Young-yu sent a message from Earth. Admiral, the galaxy has entered what historians are calling the human peace. For the first time in millions of years, developing species can grow without fear of conquest. It's the dawn of a new age. Kim stood again at the observation deck, watching as Kalari children played in gardens that had been battlefields 2 years ago. Their bioluminescent laughter filled the air with patterns of pure joy. A young Kalari approached him, one of the survivors they had rescued from the processing facilities. Her name was Kelthara, and she had been studying human culture and language. Admiral Kim, she said in carefully practiced English, may I ask you something? Of course. When your people first heard our cry for help, did you know that saving us would change everything? Did you know you were starting a new age in galactic history? Kim considered the question seriously. He thought back to that day on Terra's Pride when they first heard Velthara's desperate transmission. They had been explorers then, not warriors or peacekeepers. They had simply heard someone asking for help. No, he said finally. We had no idea what would happen. We only knew that someone needed help and we were able to provide it. Kelthara's patterns shifted to deep contemplation. So you changed the galaxy by accident? Kim smiled. We changed the galaxy by doing what we thought was right. Everything else followed from that choice. The young Kalari considered this. My people have a saying, the greatest changes begin with the smallest choices. You chose to help strangers, and it grew into something that saved millions of lives across dozens of worlds. As night fell over the Kalari homeworld, Kim received one final transmission. It was being broadcast from Earth to every inhabited world in known space, in every known language. This is humanity speaking to the galaxy. We know that space is vast and dangerous, filled with both wonders and terrors. We know that intelligent life is rare and precious. We know that the strong often prey upon the weak, and that injustice can flourish in the darkness between stars. But we also know that someone must stand for the innocent. Someone must answer when the helpless cry for aid. Someone must ensure that evil does not triumph simply because good beings choose to look away. To any species facing extinction, to any people suffering under oppression, to any world threatened by those who would destroy rather than create, you are not alone. We hear your calls for help. We will not abandon you to darkness. This is humanity's promise to the galaxy. As long as we draw breath among the stars, the innocent will have protectors. Justice will have defenders. Hope will have a home. The fleet stands ready. The vigil continues, and no one dies alone while humanity watches the void. Admiral Dae-ho Kim looked out at the stars and smiled. 3 years ago, they had been explorers. Now they were guardians of the galaxy's conscience. The aliens had begged for mercy. Humanity had answered with a fleet. The human liberation fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of Kalari space and immediately found themselves facing the largest military force the Vorthak Empire had ever assembled. Admiral Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of Mercy's Edge watching as his sensors counted enemy vessels. "How many?" he asked. 237 ships, sir," reported sensor operator Min Ho-yoon, "including 12 super dreadnoughts. Each one is larger than our entire flagship." The Vorthak had turned the Kalari system into a fortress. Their massive ships hung in space like dark monuments to conquest, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. They had been waiting for humanity's arrival. "They're hailing us," said Communications Officer Ji-woo Park. On screen, the Vorthak commander appeared. On the main view screen, unlike the previous Vorthak they had encountered, this one wore elaborate armor and bore scars that suggested countless battles. His insectoid features were marked with symbols of rank and achievement. "I am War Master Zekathul of the Vorthak." "Empire," the alien said in perfect English. "You are the humans who dare to interfere in our affairs." "I am Admiral Dae-ho Kim of the Human Liberation Fleet," Kim replied steadily. "We have come for the Kalari. Release them and withdraw from this system." Zekthul's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "You face the combined might of 3 Vorthak battle fleets with your primitive vessels, yet you make demands? Your species lacks the basic intelligence for survival." "Our species has something yours lacks," Admiral Kim replied. "The ability to tell right from wrong." The transmission ended. Across the human fleet, red alert klaxons began wailing. "All task forces, this is Admiral Kim," he broadcast to the entire fleet. "Execute Liberation Protocol. Remember, we are not here to destroy. We are here to save lives. Every Kalari we rescue makes this mission a success." Task Force Alpha, led by Rear Admiral Wanshik Go, struck first. 25 stealth ships loaded with electronic warfare systems penetrated deep into Vorthak formation. Their target was not the enemy ships themselves, but the network that connected them. "Activating viral attack systems," reported Go from his flagship Digital Storm. Human computer technology, evolved through decades of fighting malware and cyber attacks, proved devastatingly effective against the Vorthak biomechanical networks. Across the enemy fleet, command systems began failing. Ships that had operated in perfect coordination for centuries suddenly found themselves isolated and confused. The Vorthak had never faced an enemy that could turn their own technology against them. Task Force Beta, under Commodore Ji-ho No, used the confusion to devastating effect. Human pilots, trained to fly in Earth's complex atmosphere, proved masters of 3-dimensional combat among the asteroids and moons of the outer system. Squadron leader Hyojin Ryu led her bombers through the asteroid field surrounding Kalara Prime's largest moon, using rocks the size of mountains as cover. The Vorthak ships, designed for open space combat, could not match the precision flying required for asteroid navigation. "Target the processing facilities first," Ryu ordered her pilots. "Every minute we delay, more Kalari die." Her bombers struck the Vorthak installations with surgical precision, targeting power systems and communications while avoiding areas where prisoners might be held. It was the most difficult flying any of them had ever attempted, but they had trained for this moment for an entire year. Meanwhile, Task Force Gamma, commanded by Captain Subinan, fought its way toward Kalara Prime itself. The largest Vorthak ships tried to block their approach, but human vessels proved surprisingly resilient. Their weapons are powerful but imprecise, reported Chief Engineer Boram Lee from the bridge of Mercy's Edge. They're designed to destroy large targets, not to fight agile opponents. Admiral Kim realized that the Vorthak had spent so many centuries crushing weak opponents that they had forgotten how to fight against equals. Their tactics were based on intimidation and overwhelming force, not strategy and adaptation. All ships, concentrate fire on their command vessels, Kim ordered. Cut off the head and the body will flounder. The battle raged across the entire system. Human ships, outnumbered 3-1, used speed, coordination, and tactical innovation to even the odds. But the real breakthrough came when Task Force Gamma reached the surface of Kalara Prime. Marine Colonel Taeyang Seo led the first ground forces to land on an alien world in human history. His mission was not conquest, but liberation, freeing the Kalari from the processing facilities where they had suffered for months. First facility secured, Seo reported as his Marines stormed a Vorthak installation. We have survivors, but they're in bad shape. Combat medic Nari Bai worked frantically to save Kalari, who had endured unimaginable torture. Their crystal-like skin was cracked and dim, their bioluminescent communication patterns weak and erratic. But they were alive. Can you understand me? Bai asked a young Kalari through the translation device. The alien's large eyes focused on her with difficulty. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. You came. The rumors were true. Humans came for us. We're here, Bai assured him. You're safe now. Across the planet's surface, human forces liberated one facility after another. Each rescue was a small victory. Each saved life, a justification for the entire war. The Kalari, seeing their rescuers, for the first time, could barely believe that another species had traveled across the galaxy to save them. But the Vorthak were not finished. War Master Zekthul, seeing his forces in disarray, made a desperate decision. If he could not keep the Kalari as slaves, he would ensure that no one could have them. All ships, target the planet's surface, he ordered. If we cannot harvest these creatures, we will sterilize their world. The massive Vorthak dreadnoughts turned their weapons toward Kalara Prime, preparing to incinerate the very people the humans had come to save. Sir, Min Ho-yoon called out from his sensor station. Multiple Vorthak ships are charging their main weapons. They're targeting the planet. Admiral Kim felt his heart stop. All their planning, all their sacrifice would be meaningless if the Vorthak destroyed the planet and everyone on it. All ships, emergency speed to intercept, he ordered. Get between those dreadnoughts and the planet, now. What happened next would be remembered in human history as the moment of choice. Knowing that their ships could not survive the massive weapons of the Vorthak dreadnoughts, the human fleet positioned themselves directly in the line of fire. Captain Sunmi Lee's destroyer Defiant was the first to take position between the largest Vorthak ship and the planet. This is Captain Lee to all ships. If they want to destroy innocents, they'll have to go through us first. One by one, every ship in the human fleet moved into position, creating a wall of metal and determination between the Vorthak weapons and the Kalari survivors below. War Master Zekthul found himself facing a choice no Vorthak commander had ever encountered. To destroy the planet, he would have to destroy the human fleet first. But the humans were not trying to conquer or enslave. They were simply protecting the innocent. For the first time in Vorthak history, an enemy had chosen sacrifice over survival. The standoff lasted for nearly an hour. Two fleets faced each other across the void, one determined to commit genocide, the other equally determined to prevent it. Finally, Zekthul spoke again to the human admiral. Why? He asked simply. Why do you risk everything for creatures that are not your own kind? Admiral Kim thought of Velthara's first desperate transmission, of Tekmor's dignified acceptance of death, of the young Kalari who could barely believe that help had come. Because, he replied, someone had to. The battle's outcome would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. But in that moment, the only thing that mattered was the choice between protection and destruction, between justice and genocide. Humanity had made its choice. Now the universe would see what happened when unstoppable force met immovable compassion. 1 year after the decision was made, the Human Liberation Fleet assembled at Titan Station, orbiting Saturn. Commander Jae-sung-ok stood on the observation deck, watching as the largest military force humanity had ever created prepared for launch. 8. 147 ships filled the space around Titan. They ranged from massive dreadnoughts the size of city blocks to swift corvettes that could dance between asteroids. Each ship carried a crew burning with righteous purpose, trained for one mission: rescue the Kalari and destroy the Vorthak war machine. "It's beautiful," said Wing Commander Si Jin-yu, joining Jae-sung at the observation window. Her fighter squadrons were loaded aboard the fleet carriers ready to launch when they reached enemy space. "It's terrifying," Jae-sung replied. "A year ago we were explorers. Now we're an invasion force heading into unknown space to fight an empire that has never been defeated." The flagship Mercy's Edge drifted past the station, her hull gleaming with fresh armor plating. Admiral Dae-ho Kim commanded from her bridge, the man whose decision to help strangers had started this entire war. His ship was a marvel of human engineering, built specifically for this mission, combining every lesson learned from studying the Vorthak recordings. "Commander, okay, report to the briefing room," came the announcement over the station's speakers. All senior officers to the final briefing. The briefing room was packed with the best military minds humanity could produce. Admiral Kim stood at the front, looking older than his years but determined. Behind him, a holographic display showed the Kalari system and surrounding space. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Kim began, "in 6 hours we will jump to Vorthak space. Intelligence reports indicate that they have fortified the Kalari system with their most powerful fleets. They know we are coming." "How do they know?" asked Captain Sunmi Lee, commander of the stealth vessel Silent Storm. "Because we told them," Admiral Kim replied. 3 days ago we transmitted a message to every Vorthak outpost. Release the Kalari and withdraw from their space or face the consequences. They responded by sending more ships to Kalara Prime. The room murmured with concern. More enemy. Ships meant worse odds for the human fleet. "Sir," said Rear Admiral Wanshik-go, "why did we warn them? Surprise was our main advantage." Admiral Kim's expression was grim. "Because we needed to know something about ourselves. Are we conquerors who attack without warning, or are we liberators who give even monsters a chance to do the right thing?" "And now we know," said Commodore Jiho-no. "They chose to bring more weapons rather than release their prisoners, which tells us everything we need to know about Vorthak character," Admiral Kim confirmed. "They view mercy as weakness and negotiation as surrender. They have no intention of ever releasing the Kalari. So we will take them." Dr. Dong-min Kwan, the fleet's chief medical officer, raised his hand. "Admiral, what is the current status of the Kalari survivors?" "Based on our latest intelligence gathered by Captain Lee's reconnaissance missions, we estimate that approximately 800,000 Kalari remain alive. Most are being held in processing facilities on the 3 remaining inhabited worlds in their system." The number hung in the air like a weight. 800,000 survivors out of 50 million. "Our mission is threefold," Admiral Kim continued. "First, we eliminate the Vorthak military presence in Kalari space. Second, we rescue every living Kalari we can find. Third, we ensure that the Vorthak Empire can never do this to anyone again." Engineer Haiwan Jung spoke up from the back of the room. "Sir, the rescue ships are ready. We've designed them specifically for traumatized populations, medical facilities, counseling areas, and environmental systems that can adapt to Kalari physiology." "What about the Kalari themselves?" asked Captain Eugene Cha. "Do they even know we're coming?" "We've managed to establish limited communication with the underground resistance," Admiral Kim replied. "Elder Nalthera, daughter of the Velthera who first called for help, is coordinating survival efforts on Kalara Prime. They know help is coming, but they don't dare hope too much. They've been disappointed before." The holographic display changed to show detailed tactical information. The Vorthak had positioned their largest dreadnoughts in orbit around each of the 3 inhabited worlds. Smaller vessels patrolled the outer system. It was a fortress designed to crush any rescue attempt. The Vorthak are expecting us to attack their main fleet directly, Admiral Kim explained. Instead, we're going to split into 3 task forces and hit them simultaneously across the entire system. Task Force Alpha, led by Rear Admiral Wanshik Go, would use humanity's advanced electronic warfare systems to disable Vorthak command. Networks. Human computers had evolved to fight viruses and adapt quickly, qualities that would serve them well against alien technology. Task Force Beta, under Commodore Ji-Ho No, specialized in close-range combat. Human pilots trained in atmospheric flight had skills that spaceborne aliens lacked. They could use asteroids, moons, and planets as cover in ways the Vorthak had never seen. Task Force Gamma, commanded by Captain Subin An, would break through to the planets themselves. Marine Colonel Taeyang Seo would lead ground forces to liberate the processing facilities, while combat medic Nari Bay coordinated medical support for the rescued Kalari. Remember, Admiral Kim said as the briefing ended, we are not here to conquer. We are not here for territory or resources. We are here because the innocent called for help and we answered. Every Kalari life we saved justifies this entire operation. 6 hours later, the human liberation fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed. 847 ships carried 40,000 humans into the unknown. Behind them they left families, homes, and safety. Ahead of them lay an empire that had ruled through fear for 2 millennia. But humanity had something the Vorthak Empire had never faced. Warriors who fought not for conquest or glory, but for justice. As the fleet traveled through the darkness between stars, messages poured in from Earth and all human colonies. Children's drawings, prayers from religious leaders, poems from students, and songs from musicians. All of them carried the same message. Bring them home. Admiral Kim sat in his quarters aboard Mercy's Edge, reading reports from his task force. Commanders. Every system was ready. Every crew member knew their duty. The rescue ships were prepared to care for thousands of traumatized survivors. But he also knew that some of his ships would not return. Some of the brave men and women under his command would die in the next few days, fighting for people they had never met, in a cause that offered humanity no material benefit. He thought about the first transmission they had received from Velthara, begging for help from anyone who might be listening. The Kalari had cried out into the darkness, not knowing if anyone would hear them. Someone had heard. Someone was coming. As the human liberation fleet approached Vorthak space, alien civilizations across the galaxy watched their progress with amazement. Most species, when faced with the choice between safety and justice, chose safety. It was logical, practical, and ensured survival. But humanity had chosen differently. The fleet that emerged from faster-than-light speed at the edge of Kalari space was more than ships and weapons. It was the physical manifestation of a moral choice that an entire species had made together. Evil would not go unopposed. The innocent would not suffer alone. And somewhere in the galaxy, hope was still alive. The recordings from Kalara Prime reached Earth 6 months after Terra's Pride returned home. What happened next changed humanity forever. Admiral Sang-Wook Lim stood in the main briefing room of Earth's military headquarters, watching as presidents, prime ministers, and leaders from every nation on Earth viewed the evidence. The room had been completely silent for 20 minutes as they watched crystal-faced aliens being dragged away by insectoid monsters. When the recordings ended, President Kyung-Soo Jang of the United Earth Council was the first to speak. "How many Kalari are estimated to still be alive?" he asked quietly. "Intelligence estimates put the remaining population at roughly 2 million, replied Admiral Lim, down from an original population of 50 million across their 5 worlds. "And how long have they been suffering this treatment?" "The attacks began approximately 8 months ago. Captain Daeho Kim estimates that based on what they witnessed, the average Kalari survives the harvesting process for 4 to 6 months. President Jang closed his eyes. "So they are still dying, right now, as we sit here talking?" "Yes, sir." The room fell silent again. These were the most powerful people on Earth, leaders who made decisions that affected billions of humans. But none of them had ever faced a decision like this. Dr. Mi-Young-Yu, Earth's leading expert on alien biology, spoke from her seat at the side of the room. The recordings show that the Kalari possessed medical technology far beyond ours. Their natural healing abilities could have extended human lifespan by centuries. From a purely practical standpoint, their knowledge was priceless. You're talking about them in past tense, noted Defense Minister Gun-Woo Park. Because for all practical purposes, they are extinct, Dr. Yu replied sadly. Even if we could rescue the survivors, the trauma of what they have endured, their society, their culture, their accumulated knowledge of thousands of years, it's all being destroyed. Diplomat Yoon Ji-shin leaned forward in her chair. Has there been any attempt to contact the Vorthak Empire diplomatically? Admiral Lim shook his head. They do not negotiate. Our intelligence suggests they have been expanding across this sector of the galaxy for over 2,000 years. Every species they encounter suffers the same fate: conquest, slavery, or extinction. They view negotiation as weakness. What about other alien civilizations? Asked President Jiang. Surely someone else has the power to stop this. We've detected signals from at least 40 different civilizations in known space, Admiral Lim replied. As far as we can determine, none of them have tried to interfere with Vorthak expansion. Most seem to hope that if they remain quiet and non-threatening, they will be left alone. And does that strategy work? No, sir. The Vorthak continue expanding. They show particular interest in species with unique biological abilities, but they eventually conquer everyone in their path. Fleet Admiral Insu Bay, the highest-ranking military officer on Earth, stood up from his seat. Mr. President, I need to be direct about our situation. Humanity has been building its space fleet for 30 years. We have good ships and well-trained crews, but we have never fought an interstellar war. We have no idea if our weapons and tactics will work against alien technology. Are you saying we cannot win? President Jiang asked. I'm saying we do not know if we can win, Admiral Bay replied. But I am also saying that if we do nothing, the Vorthak will eventually come for us anyway. They view all other intelligent life as either useful or obstacles to be removed. Captain Dae-ho Kim, who had been sitting quietly in the back of the room, stood up. Sir, may I speak? President Jiang nodded. I was there, Dae-ho said simply. I saw what they do. I heard the sounds those people made. I looked into Thekmore's eyes when he knew he was going to die. He paused, struggling with the memory. Mr. President, I understand the military concerns. I understand that we might lose. But I cannot understand how we can know what is happening and do nothing. Captain Kim is right, said Chief Engineer Bo-Ram Lee, who had also been invited to testify. The Kalari never hurt anyone. They devoted their entire civilization to healing and helping others, and they are being tortured to death for it. If we let this happen, what kind of species are we? President Jiang looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. Some looked afraid, others looked angry. All of them looked like people who had been forced to confront evil in its purest form. I want opinions, the president said. From everyone in this room. Should humanity intervene? One by one they voted. The decision was not unanimous, but it was overwhelming. 47 votes to intervene, 11 votes to remain neutral, 2 abstentions. President Jiang stood up slowly. Very well. Fleet Admiral Bay, you have authorization to begin immediate military preparations. I want every ship we have ready for combat within 1 year. Sir, Admiral Bay said, with respect, 1 year is not enough time to properly prepare for a war of this scale. Then we will be improperly prepared, President Jiang replied firmly, because every day we wait, more innocent people die in agony. Dr. Yu, I want crash programs to develop any weapons or defenses that might give us an advantage. What about the other human colonies? Asked Defense Minister Park. Mars, Europa, the outer settlements. They should have a say in this decision. I've already spoken with them, President Jiang said. The vote was even more overwhelming than ours. Apparently, the farther humans get from Earth, the more willing they are to fight for strangers. Admiral Lim cleared his throat. Mr. President, there is one more thing to consider. If we do this, if we actually attack the Vorthak Empire to rescue the Kalari, it will be the first time in galactic history that one species has gone to war solely to protect another. We will be setting a precedent that could change interstellar politics forever. Good, President Zhang replied. Maybe it's time the galaxy changed. Over the following days, news of the decision spread across Earth and all human colonies. The Yao's response was unlike anything in human history. Volunteers for military service increased by 3,000%. Civilian manufacturing converted to military production without being asked. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to develop new technologies. But more than that, humanity unified in a way it never had before. The recordings from Kalara Prime were broadcast across all human worlds. Children drew pictures of crystal-faced aliens and sent them to military bases with messages saying, "Save them, please." Religious leaders of every faith declared the rescue mission a holy duty. Philosophers wrote about humanity's obligation to defend the innocent, regardless of species. Engineer Ari Choi led teams that worked for 18 hours a day to design new weapons specifically for fighting the Vorthak. Physicist Young Jae Moon developed faster engines so human ships could match alien speed. Every human settlement contributed resources, knowledge, and personnel. The message was broadcast from Earth to every human world, and from there to any alien civilization willing to listen. This is humanity. We have seen what the Vorthak Empire does to peaceful peoples. We have heard the cries of the innocent and the pleas of the helpless. We will not ignore them. We will not abandon them. We will not let them die alone. To the Vorthak Empire, you have made slavery and torture your way of life. You have chosen to prey upon the peaceful. You believe that might makes right, and that the strong may do whatever they wish to the weak. You are about to learn that you are wrong. To any species suffering under Vorthak oppression, help is coming. We do not know if we will succeed, but we swear to you that we will try. No intelligent being should face extinction alone. This is humanity's promise to the galaxy. Evil will be opposed. The innocent will be defended. The strong have a duty to protect the weak, regardless of species, regardless of politics, regardless of cost. As Earth's massive shipyards worked day and night to build the largest fleet in human history, one thought echoed in the minds of every human from Earth to the most distant colony. The Kalari had begged for mercy. Humanity would answer with justice. Terra's pride dropped out of faster-than-light speed at the edge of the Kalari system. What they saw made the entire crew fall silent. Kalara Prime was burning. The planet that should have been blue and green was covered in red and black clouds. Massive alien ships hung in orbit like metal vultures. They were unlike anything in Earth's databases. Dark, angular vessels that looked more grown than built. Their hulls seemed to pulse with organic patterns. "My God," whispered Science Officer Taemin Choi. "Those ships are enormous." Chief Science Officer Heejin Nam was already working at her sensors, tears streaming down her face. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy discharges on the planet's surface. They're bombarding population centers." Captain Dae-ho Kim gripped his chair. Through the main view screen, they could see flashes of light on the planet's surface. Each flash meant thousands of people were dying. "How many ships are there?" 47 that I can detect, reported sensor operator Min Ho-yoon. "But Captain, these readings, the largest ones are over 10 kilometers long. Our entire ship could fit inside their smallest vessels." Communications Officer Ji-woo Park was bent over her console, trying to boost their receivers. "I'm picking up transmissions from the planet's surface. The Kalari are still alive down there. Some of them are trying to communicate." "Put it through," Dae-ho ordered. The bridge filled with sounds that would haunt them forever. The Kalari communicated partly through sound and partly through bioluminescent patterns. Even through the radio they could hear the musical quality of their speech, but now it was broken, terrified, desperate. "They're in the underground cities," Ji-woo translated, working with the translation software they had developed from Belthara's original message. The Vorthak ships are landing. They're taking prisoners. On the view screen, they watched as smaller ships detached from the massive Vorthak vessels and descended toward the planet. These ships looked like giant insects, their hulls segmented and gleaming. "Captain," said Navigator Sujin Ko, "we're receiving a direct transmission from the planet. It's coming from deep underground." On screen, the view screen flickered and then showed the face of an alien unlike anything they had imagined. The Kalari looked almost human, but their skin had a crystalline quality that caught and reflected light. Their eyes were large and filled with an intelligence that was both ancient and kind. This one's crystal-like features were cracked with stress and fear. "I am Thekmor," the alien said in careful English. "You are the humans who answered our call?" "We are," Deho replied. "We came as soon as we received your transmission." Thekmor's face showed what might have been relief, but it quickly turned to sadness. "You are too few, and you have come too late. But perhaps you can witness. Perhaps someone in the galaxy will remember that we existed." "What are the Vorthak doing?" Deho asked, though he was afraid of the answer. "They harvest us," Thekmor said simply. "My people have the gift of healing. We can mend wounds, cure diseases, even extend life. The Vorthak have discovered how to drain this ability from us. But the process, it must be done while we are alive and aware. They keep us conscious during the entire procedure." Hyejin Nam made a sound like she was about to be sick. "How long does it take?" "Months," Thekmor replied. "They start with the children because their healing power is strongest. The process slowly burns out our life force. We feel everything. We cannot heal ourselves during the draining. We can only suffer and watch our abilities be stolen." The transmission flickered as explosions echoed in the background. Thekmor looked over his shoulder at something they could not see. "They have found our shelter," he said calmly. "If you truly wish to witness, you should record what happens next. The galaxy should know what the Vorthak Empire does to peaceful worlds." "We're recording everything," Deho promised. "Tell them," Thekmor said as Vorthak soldiers appeared behind him. "Tell them that we tried to be worthy of the gift of consciousness. Tell them that we harmed no one. Tell them that we only wanted to heal." The transmission cut to static. The bridge was completely silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. Several crew members were crying openly. Others stared at the view screen, in shock. "Captain," Min Ho-yoon said quietly, "I'm detecting movement. 3 Vorthak ships are heading in our direction." On the tactical display they could see the enemy vessels changing course toward Terra's Pride. They were sleek and fast, built for hunting. "They've detected us," Deho said. "All hands, battle stations. Not that it will help against those monsters." The lead Vorthak ship was close enough now for them to see details. It looked like a giant praying mantis made of black metal. Weapon ports opened along its hull like hungry mouths. "Incoming transmission," Jiwoo reported. "They're hailing us." On screen, the Vorthak commander appeared on the view screen and several crew members took involuntary steps backward. The alien was insectoid but wrong somehow, as if someone had tried to improve on the design of a predator and made it worse instead. Its eyes were multifaceted and completely black. Its mouth had too many teeth. "Unknown vessel," the Vorthak said in perfect English. "You have witnessed events that are not your concern. You will delete all recordings and depart immediately, or you will be destroyed." Deho stood up straight. "This is Captain Deho Kim of the Earth vessel Terra's Pride. We are explorers on a peaceful mission. Your mission is irrelevant. Your recordings are irrelevant. Your species is irrelevant. You have 10 seconds to comply or face elimination." The transmission ended. Red warning lights began flashing throughout the ship. "Captain," said Chief Engineer Bo-Ram Lee, "our weapons are no match for those ships. Our shields might last 30 seconds against their firepower." "Then we run," Deho said. "But we take the recordings with us. Maximum speed back toward Earth." Terra's Pride spun around and jumped to faster than light speed just as the Vorthak ships opened fire. Energy beams that could have vaporized a Small Moon passed through the space where they had been moments before, but they were not safe yet. The Vorthak ships were faster and began gaining on them. For 6 hours, they ran through space while alien hunters closed the distance behind them. "They're going to catch us," reported Tactical Officer Wu Jin Han. "Captain," Jiwoo said suddenly, "I'm getting something from our long-range sensors. There's a human patrol ship 3 hours ahead of us." "Signal them," Daeho ordered. "Tell them we need immediate assistance." The next 3 hours were the longest of their lives. They could see the Vorthak ships getting closer on their screens. Just when it seemed the aliens would catch them, Earth's patrol ship Vigilant appeared and opened fire. The Vorthak ships, apparently not expecting resistance, broke off their pursuit and disappeared back into their territory. Safe aboard Vigilant, Daeho watched the recordings they had made. Every frame showed the systematic destruction of an entire civilization. The peaceful Kalari, with their crystal-like faces and ancient wisdom, were being turned into living batteries by monsters from the darkness between stars. "Captain," said Hye-Jin Nam, "what do we do with this?" Daeho looked at the recordings one more time. Somewhere in Vorthak space, Thekmor and thousands like him were suffering unimaginable torture. Their only crime had been the gift of healing. "Others. We show it to Earth," he said firmly. "All of Earth. Everyone needs to see this." As Terra's Pride flew toward home, her crew carried with them the weight of what they had witnessed. They had seen evil in its purest form. They had heard the cries of the innocent and been powerless to help. But they had also made a promise to Thekmor and his people. The galaxy would know what happened to the Kalari. The galaxy would remember, and perhaps if they were very lucky, the galaxy would do something about it. Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of Terra's Pride, watching the stars through the main view screen. His ship was 3 months into humanity's first deep space diplomatic mission. They were supposed to make contact with friendly alien races and set up trade agreements. So far, they had found empty space and dead worlds. "Captain, we're getting something strange on long-range sensors," said Communications Officer Jiwoo Park. She was young but sharp, one of Earth's best at handling alien signals. Her fingers moved quickly over her console as numbers scrolled across her screen. "What kind of strange?" Daeho asked, walking over to her station. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Chief Engineer Bo-Ram Lee looked up from her repair work on the environmental systems. Science Officer Taemin Choi stopped reading his star charts. "It's a transmission, sir, but it's not like anything we've seen before. The signal is weak and breaking up, but there's definitely intelligence behind it. And Captain," Jiwoo's voice dropped to a whisper, "I think someone is asking for help." Daeho felt his heart skip. First contact was supposed to be handled by special teams with years of training. His crew was prepared for diplomacy, not emergency rescue. "Put it on speakers, let's all hear this." The bridge filled with static. Then, through the noise, came a voice unlike anything they had ever heard. It was musical but broken, like someone singing while crying. The words were not human, but the emotion was clear. This was the sound of pure terror. "Can you clean it up?" Daeho asked. Jiwoo worked at her console for several minutes. Slowly, the static faded. The voice became clearer. It was female speaking, in what sounded like multiple tones at once. Behind her voice, they could hear explosions and screaming. "Please," the alien voice said in broken English. "If anyone hears this, we need help. My people are dying. They came from the stars like dark birds. They take our children. They take our healers. We have no weapons. We know only peace. Please, someone help us." The transmission cut to static again. The bridge was completely silent. Daeho looked at his crew. Bo-Ram's face was pale. Taemin was shaking his head slowly. Jiwoo had tears in her eyes. "Did she just say they have no weapons?" Bo-Ram asked quietly. "A completely peaceful species," Taemin confirmed. "And someone is attacking them." Daeho sat down in his captain's chair. His orders were clear. Explore, make contact, but avoid getting involved in alien conflicts. Earth's government did not want humanity to take sides in wars they did not understand. But those orders were written by people who had never heard alien children crying for help. Ji-woo, can you trace the signal? Working on it now, sir. Her hands flew over her controls. The signal came from... Captain, it's coming from the Kalari system. That's the one marked on our star charts as having an advanced civilization. The database says they are known for medical technology and philosophy. How far? 18 days at maximum speed. Daeho closed his eyes. 18 days might be too late. But 18 days was also how long it would take to get back to Earth and report this. By then, whatever was happening would be over. Captain, Taemin said carefully, our orders are specific. We are not to interfere in alien conflicts. I know what our orders say, Daeho replied. Ji-woo, keep trying to clean up that signal. I want to know exactly what is happening. For the next hour, Ji-woo worked on the transmission. She managed to recover more of the message. The alien's name was Velthara. She was some kind of leader or elder. Her people were called the Kalari. They had been peaceful for thousands of years. They had no military, no weapons, no way to defend themselves. The attackers were called the Vorthak. They had already destroyed 3 Kalari colony worlds. They were not just conquering. They were taking prisoners, using the Kalari's advanced healing abilities for their own purposes. It was not war. It was slavery. Captain, Ji-woo said with a broken voice. There's more. The Vorthak. They keep the Kalari alive while they drain their life force. The Kalari can heal others, but this process makes healing impossible. They suffer for months before they die. Boram slammed her fist on her console. That's torture. That's pure evil. Daeho stood up and walked to the view screen. Out there in the darkness, an entire species was being destroyed. People who had never hurt anyone were being turned into living batteries for their enemies. And his orders said, to do nothing. All hands, this is the captain, he said into the ship's communication system. Report to the main conference room in 10 minutes. We need to vote on something important. The conference room was small, but it held all 25 crew members of Terra's Pride. Daeho played the cleaned-up transmission for everyone. By the end, there was not a dry eye in the room. Our orders are clear, Daeho said. We are not supposed to get involved in alien wars. But this is not a war. This is genocide. The question is, what do we do about it? Chief Medical Officer Hana, Yi spoke first. Captain, if the Kalari really have advanced healing technology, they could help humanity. But more than that, we cannot just let this happen. It's not our fight, said Security Chief Mingyu-oh. We have one ship. What can we do against an entire empire? Maybe we can't stop them, said Navigator Sujin Ko. But we can witness. We can record. We can make sure the galaxy knows what the Vorthak are doing. And if the Vorthak decide to destroy us for being witnesses? Mingyu asked. Then we die doing the right thing, Boram said firmly. I joined this crew to explore the galaxy. I did not sign up to run away from people who need help. One by one, the crew members voted. Some wanted to return to Earth and report. Others wanted to go to Kalari space immediately. But when Daeho counted the votes, the result was clear. 20 votes to help, 5 to return home. Set course for the Kalari system, Daeho ordered. Maximum speed. As Terra's Pride changed course and jumped to faster than light speed, Daeho sat alone in his quarters. He was probably ending his career. He might be starting a war between humanity and an alien empire. He could be leading his crew to their deaths. But he kept thinking about Velthara's voice. The pure terror. The desperate hope that someone somewhere might hear her cry for help. Humanity had heard, and humanity was coming. The ship flew through the darkness toward a system where an ancient, peaceful species was being tortured to death. Captain Daeho Kim had no idea that his decision would change the course of galactic history. He only knew that some things were more important than orders. Some things were more important than safety. Some cries for help could not be ignored.